feel about the question?
Maybe.
Alright, good day to those who are watching this video. We're just going to go through what we did in our first vacation session. So with your exam, here's an example of the exam, a past paper. The front page of the exam usually has instructions here. You have 2 assembly questions. This is the first one, and the 2 write-ups come first. So the first assembly question here is movable arm assembly, and here are the questions. It's important for you to understand the questions. Question A, draw full size. So the scale for full size is what? 1:1. So it has a plan, a full section, 6 main dimensions, and they have what to include. Anybody knows what's a metric screw? Have we ever done an M measurement? That's a metric screw. So whenever you put the M12, M16, that is the dimension for a metric screw. Y'all follow what I'm saying? So remember, when you dimension the nuts or the bolts with M12, M16, that is your metric screw. You clear with that? Now, if you do not include these dimensions, you cannot get this 5 marks. Okay? And this is real simple. Printed title, movable arm assembly. The scale was the scale again? 1:1, and the projection symbol, which we should know. So here's the first one, movable arm. The second question is handle control assembly. And now we come to, so I am skipping section 2 because I'm only focusing on section 1, which is the assembly. So when we go down here, in the exam, they're going to give you these big sheets, and the big sheets will have only drawings. This is the handle control assembly, which is one option. And this is the option that we focus on today, the movable arm assembly. So CXC will give you 2 options. One is going to be more difficult than the other. Choose the easier one. Okay? Would you like to do this one? No, we will do this one, but it's not as difficult as it seems. It's the same principle for everything. Alright, so this is the drawing we're doing. You realize it has over here the base. There's a front and a plan view of the base. There's an arm over here. There's a front and end view of the arm. We have a fulcrum pin. Why do you think they only have one view of the fulcrum pin? Why they don't got end view? Now this pin, it has M24, so it has threads on it, and the purpose of this pin is to do what? What do you think the purpose is? Put inside
the arm.
Put inside the arm. So when we look at the arm, does the arm have a M24 or 28 on it?
Yeah.
See this? So it got diameter 28. Now, something is missing from this paper, because if this fulcrum pin is a circle, then this dimension here should be diameter 28. You follow me? But we're assuming that it's diameter 28. We have the hexagonal nut. What's the purpose of the nut? To hold the M24. You understand? Now, here's the funny thing. Remember, we spoke about the 6 dimensions, right? You just need to put back this dimension, and that's your metric screw. You looking at board, Safri? You see that? You ain't creating dimensions, you know. You put in back dimensions. So you literally put in this back. When you assemble the finger, put it back the same way. It says a radius or a diameter. Put back this diameter 20 the same way. The same exact way it is. Well, this way wrong. But I'll tell you why it's wrong. This drawing, even though it's a CXC drawing, it has several errors on it. You will lose a mark if you leave this line in here. You understand that? So when you put back diameter 20, the diameter 20 with the arrow is correct. You would use that line to make the 20. Alright, so for the sake of the video, I'll speed up. Alright, so by know which one of these parts you're drawing first? The bottom? Which part is that? The bottom of the fulcrum pin? Plan view of what, by now? the base, okay? So, few ways we could start the plan view. I'm gonna start with the center. Now, if you're good at math, the center is a good way to start. The reason why this is a good way to start is because you just need to divide each of these measurements by half. If you're not good at math, you can do it differently. But I am at the center, so the measurement here is 152. What's half of 152? 76. So 76 to the left, 76 to the right. Now some persons had issues with these measurements, and this will cause you to lose marks in the exam because you'll work slowly. So you got the 152. Now let me show you something that the boys did last year, which was a very dirty habit. So if you don't know how to divide and the measurement is a little funny, you draw the 152. And what do you think you do next with it? You put it in the middle. So the class that I had last year did this and it shocked me because I was like, that is teething. So anyhow, you move it from the middle, and once you put it here, you could change the layer, but that's 152. You understand that? I'm gonna change the layer of it, probably put it as red. So in this way, you don't really have to measure or divide. You understand what they did, Keontae? So what they did was they drew the measurement across. All right, so, sorry? Yeah, we can off your light, sorry. Sorry about that. All right, so we have our 152 in. Now we have a 125 going up. I'm gonna do the same thing again. So we draw our 125 going down here. And as I said, what they did was they drew the line, changed the layer, and they just moved it from the middle over here. And then they just drew in the rest of the figure. So they did not do any type of division or anything like that. And the funny thing is the measurement still came back correct. So as I said, if you have problems with the dividing, you can try it that way. But it's obviously something you gotta practice. So I'm just gonna check the measurements after. So we have here our 125, and then we have our 152. What do you think about that method?
Seems much easier.
You're just gonna make sure you get it right. If you get it wrong, it can be issues. All right, so the 102 over here, which is the center, was half of 102. 51, so we offset 51 to the left, 51 to the right. And then the center of those circles is 76. What's half of 76? 38. So we offset our 38 up and our 38 down. I'm gonna draw the small circle here, diameter 20. So Keontae, if it has a diameter 20, pay attention people. You just click the diameter, draw it at 20. So let me just do that again. We come here, diameter, specify the center, and because I set it at 20 is correct. So over here we have diameter 38. I don't even have to divide that. I can just do it diameter 38. We copy the 4 across. Now my problem with some of you is that you took really long to do this and you lost marks. So I started with the plan. I'm gonna start here with the plan view. When we started the session today, what did we discuss doing first?
C.
Question C. So we go back out here to question C. The problem that most students have with this exam is that they leave out questions B and C. Print the title movable arm assembly. So I'm just going to stop to do that to get my 5 marks. It then says to do the scale 1 to 1. No, you should use a colon, but my shift is not working. So just make sure you use your colon in between the two. And then it has the symbol. So I'll draw the symbol. Now by now each of you should know the measurements of the symbol. Radius 5. And then there's a radius 10. We draw a horizontal line, a vertical line over here. Offset it 20. And this is our symbol. Now for each drawing you must do the symbol, so please get into the habit of practicing it and doing it now so that you know how to get it done. Any questions or any comments about anything I've done so far? Alright, so I made sure I got my marks. Any questions about that? Who has not done this? Yeah, so the exam practically finished and you've lost those marks. Okay, so we go back down to drawing. I'm not going to do all, just trying to do a bit of it to give you an idea of how it will be done. Alright, so going into the front view. Now, some persons had some problems with the front view. I will repeat this up until the exam. Do not draw your front somewhere over here. Project upwards to make your front. So you could just project a small measurement. We're using AutoCAD, so there's no like real space that would be a problem. Just come up vertically, draw your horizontal line, and then let's start the front view. You understand that, DeMarco? I do not want to see you drawing the front view in a position that is not lined up with the plan view. Alright, so now I put in that baseline already. So we are coming up here 76. 76 from the bottom. And these circles give a few persons problems. So we're going to start with the smallest one. Question. The measurement for the smallest circle is shown out here? No. No. If you look at the arrow tells you which circle we're looking at. This arrow is looking at the biggest circle. You understand? So the biggest circle here is diameter 82. Tell me what's the measurement of this circle? Radius 2. You see the arrow? See the arrow there? The arrow touching the circle. Is there any arrow touching the two of these circles? No. So the measurement in here. So you could look and you could look. The measurement is not up here. The measurement is down here. Right? And as I tell you, there's an error in how this paper was done because this 28 is a circle. You understand? So this should have what by it? A radius or diameter. You understand? So this 28 and this 24, those are the two circles. You understand? So the paper kind of made it a little more difficult for you because it did not put on the radius. But these two circles are diameter 28, diameter 24. We understand how we're going measurement? So we come here, circle diameter, diameter 24. We come again, circle diameter, diameter 28. Now we go into those bigger circles. There's a diameter 82, diameter 82, And we realize that diameter 82 is what uses the tangent. So you can draw a slanted line now. So your slanted line comes from here, run across the surface, find the tangent. If the tangent is not coming up, remember I'm making a video so I'm explaining everything. Go into tracking settings, come over here, make sure all of these are on, tangent is here, make sure all of these are on, that's it. Now, the right side is different, right? So how do I get this done? Drawing 58 first? We're drawing this first. Draw that, and then we can get into 58, and that 12, two 12s. I think we can use the two 12s. Pardon me? Alright, so we offset in, offset 12 down. And then we do another 12, so that's the top line, this is the bottom line. And now we're doing radius 58. Radius 58. 58, should that hit the 12? I know, that making sense. Because if it is radius 58, those two 12s should hit it. Anyhow. Well, what I can do is I can adjust this. Because what they probably want is for this line to come here. Y'all think so? Alright. So we trim that, we trim this, trim that, and we trim that piece too. I think everything else here should be trimmed. Alright, so the inner circle was the size of this circle. This hidden detail one. 29, good. So radius 29. And that radius 29 comes here, and that's the inside piece. Now, we cut in this figure, right?
Yeah.
See cutting plane over here? XX. So I ain't waiting. I cutting it one time. So this hidden detail that's in here, pay attention. This hidden detail that's in here is going to be solid. You understand? So this 58, I can leave that as solid. We can see that, that's going to come across here. Solid again, solid. We are missing this measurement now. So I'm just going to delete some of these. The web is still going to be here when this is cut. Where's the web? Down here, it comes straight across. So the way they have the web done, do they have measurements for the web? The web is 10, so I will offset this web. Offset 5 to the left and 5 to the right. And I'm going to put in the web. Now remember, we do not section webs, we do not section parts that have threads. We do not section fasteners, which are nuts and screws. Alright, so how many persons got this far? Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, so we go back up. Now, I think I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to start to assemble. So the question said that this piece must be positioned at O. So I'm going to change my layer just so we can see a different piece coming in. And diameter 48, diameter 28. I think we have diameter 28 already. I'm just going to do it over here. And then we have our diameter 48. So, and I will draw across now. This is 125 coming across. And I'll do the two smaller circles. Over here is diameter 32. And we also have here a diameter 20. Then we have an offset for the 2412. 12 down, 12 up. Anybody's lost on this piece that I just drew? Hmm? Okay, good. And as I said before, I'm going to section it one time. You do not have a lot of time in the exam to do a one piece here, do a one piece there. So it makes sense to do your pieces together if you understand them. If you don't understand them, you could draw them separately and then just drag them in. So over here, you're just gonna hatch. Remember to change your layer to section first before you hatch. It should be on ANSI 31, and we just make it a little bigger to see the lines. Alright, so that is that for that piece. And now I'm also going to hatch this second piece here. Now I'm not checking to see if this second piece is correct. I'm just hatching it so that we can see the difference between the two. Because the second piece is different, I have made the section lines a different angle, put them at 90, and I put them the opposite direction. You understand that so far? This section is not correct, it's not finished. I'm just doing it so you get an idea of it. Alright, what's missing from this plan view? You're missing this piece here. So when we come in now, I need to draw in that piece. So it is a, well, I don't need to measure. I'll just project these down. 1045. So I'm just gonna project these down because it should line up. DeMarco, you understand what I'm doing? So I'm making sure that the pieces that I have line up with one another. Remember the question asks us to show all hidden detail in the plan view. Alright, so this being said, project this across and make this a center line. And now I'll use that to finish this. Offset, what's half of 36? 18. Half of 12. Alright, so we have our 36 here. The 36 comes down into our 12. And then we should have the second circle over here, which is 25. What do you think I'm extending this for? So we could project down. So the offset half of 25 is what? So this is the plan view of the arm that we put inside. 12.5. Let me just check to make sure that measurement is correct. Center line. Alright, so that is it. And now we dimension. So we have our 25. And any questions, any comments? Are you beginning to understand how I'm doing it? Now, at the end of it, it does not make sense us talking about this. What you have to do is make sure that you have the drawing done. What you have to do is make sure that most of yours is completed. Because with this, the only way you're going to get the marks is if the drawing is done. Alright, so I'm gonna stop there with that piece for now, and I don't think I'm gonna do much more. Where's the penguin, the fulcrum pin? The fulcrum pin is going to be placed in here. So if you look at this pin, it's going to be turned in here and pushed through this part. I did not draw this C part that's here. You follow me? So the fulcrum pin is going actually in this space, and then the nut is going to be on top of it. Alright, the reason that I am not going to finish it, because this is what you're going to complete for Thursday. I have given you an idea of what it looks like. I've given you an idea of some of it. So we did the label, we did the scale, we also did the symbol. What is missing? I'm missing the dimensions, and I'm missing the cutting plane. So I'm going to do the cutting plane now. Now generally for the cutting plane, you just select your leader, come down here. So this is A, and I'm going to do the same thing over this side. Just come down, left click, A. So that is how you do your cutting plane. It's not perfect, the two of them should line up, but you understand how I did it? Now, next thing here is the labels. So this piece here is sectional, front view, on plane AA, and then we shall have our plan view at the bottom. Alright, what is the thing that I'm missing the most on this drawing? What's the thing that's blatantly incorrect? This line is supposed to be this type. So all of my layers here need to change. Okay? Outline should be outline, center line should be center lines, and of course we said it needs to be finished. Any questions? You understand it to some degree?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
No. I think that part is a web doing, no? Yeah, this piece here will not be sectioned. So I'm giving you a tip for homework. This triangular piece will not be sectioned because that is actually a web. So you will have to leave out this piece. It's only the bottom, and then it's only in here that would be sectioned. You understand why I left that out? And here's the reason why I left it out and why I left the middle in. For this piece that is coming up and this small piece are all supports of the figure. And you can see the supports here. There's one support right here. There's another support here, a web. There's one here and there's one here. You understand that? Now when it cuts straight through the center is only a solid piece. So that's the reason why I section in this piece instead of leaving it, right? But there's some persons that would leave this part unsectioned. But that's the reason that I did not section the left space or the right space. You understand that? The point that I'm making is you don't section webs. So do not section your webs. Final comments before we end the video. We have the sectional front view. We will have our labels, and make sure you have your center lines. Keontae, you understand this a little more? Only thing that you can do to really understand it is to draw it. So at this point, I'll stop the video here.